Like I talk about, at age 28, moving back into my mother's crib, and somebody might have seen stories and things that I was posting about my life then when I had launched Really Media. And it's like, oh my God, I had this position at the school, like I was making a lot of money. And they're like, oh my God, things look perfect. But you'll hear this record and be like, okay, things weren't exactly ideal like it may have seemed. And I hope they take away from that it's not always perfect.
Hello and welcome to A Friend Like Me podcast. I am your host, Shariel, and I started this podcast because everybody needs a friend like me. Today's main topic is from an album. It's called Beautiful Trauma, and my guest is the person that made this album.
Yes.
Frank.
Beautiful Trauma. Glad being here. And everyone does need a friend like you, because some people not only do not have friends at all, but sometimes they don't have good friends. So like being able to come here, and even if they don't connect with you on a one-on-one basis, being able to get this perspective and some of this insight that you give that some people miss out on because of their lack of friends like you.
Ooh, look at the way he plugged me in. Thank you.
Love.
Okay, so before we get into the main topic, I have a random question because I have a guest. And that random question is, would you rather always drive the exact speed limit? You can't go above it. Or for the rest of your life, you're going to have a car that's bad on gas?
Speed limit's tough. That's tough. I'm going with bad on gas. I'm down with that. I'm down.
Oh, wow.
I'll pay for the convenience. I guess that's what I'd rather pay for the convenience. I'll be having to get where I got to go, and I'm always late.
Okay.
I'm always late. Not for things that matter, but like, yeah, for sure. We're going with the
Can't
car.
do the speed limit.
Yeah, fact.
All right.
I got to get where I got to get.
Yeah, I'm kind of cheap. I'm frugal. I'm not cheap. So I'm going to have to go with the speed limit, unfortunately. I'm going to have to just leave 30 minutes earlier than I always would to get there.
No doubt. I respect it.
So this project he's coming out with on March 10th. And this podcast better come out, Shariel. I'm talking to me before or right on the day.
Wow.
So Beautiful Trauma is an interesting title because obviously people don't think trauma is beautiful. Trauma is usually looked at as ugly, as something that's painful. And in this project, we're going to basically talk about each song, but make it kind of like its own topic on this podcast. So we can review it, but also deep dive into topics that I would talk about anyway.
For sure.
The first track is called Beautiful Trauma. Basically, the first song is a lot. So it's a lot to digest, but I feel like the instrumentals he used, we talked about this earlier, makes it easier.
For sure.
It makes it more palatable. One of the things I love that he talks about is the loss of our friends. He talks about it's painful sometimes, even now, to befriend new people because there's a point where you might lose that person, maybe not, from death, but you may lose the friendship.
Yeah.
You might grow apart, and it's just hard to make yourself be vulnerable or open to new friendships once you lose somebody, because a lot of us don't talk about, how much we miss somebody, and we don't want to be annoying or, redundant, but you feel that pain every day when you lose somebody, especially you were close to.
Yeah, the pros are obviously the memories and the good times and just the bond that you create and share with somebody. But the greater that is, it's like the higher up you are, like the harder the fall.
Yes.
So like, the fallouts or, and the most unfortunate death, the pain of missing somebody that has grown to be so significant to you.
Exactly.
And the opening verse, that being one of the things that is very present in my life. Like I'm dealing with a very recent loss, and it's on my mind daily. I dive right into like the feelings of, damn, I wish I never even met you, because I wouldn't even feel these feelings if I didn't. And R.I.P. Junior. Just missing people that you love. It's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough.
It's very hard. And we also don't talk about how some people are irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Even if it's not through death, but like say you fall out with people, I feel like people always act like, oh, it's their loss, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It hurts sometimes when you lose a close friend because you have a falling out. We have to stop acting like people don't have value.
People are too cool these days, man. Like nothing. Everybody's unfazed and unbothered. That's like I don't know why that has become the thing that's cool, but it's like very cool to care. You know what I mean? This whole indifferent and
I don't care.
Yeah, like that's not even human. Are you a robot?
Yeah.
Like, how do you just not care about, or were you genuine? Like, are you at the expense of looking like you're unfazed? Are you okay with seeming very ingenuine in the feelings and cold that you share with people?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to, that's not how I want to portray myself.
I don't ever want to be that, because half the time that's a defense mechanism.
For sure. We got to get to a place where we're okay just saying I'm hurt, or that wasn't okay, or hey, here's what's going on, here's how I feel about that.
Yeah.
And we talked about, like, some people, it's easier for them to tell someone off or to hook off, punch someone in the face, than it is to look at someone and say, yo, this bothered me.
Yes.
And that's not okay.
And we have to be able to receive it as a person who bothers somebody and hear them out and not be offended and be oh, well, we just don't need to be friends then.
For sure.
You got to grow up.
Absolutely.
Everybody's not replaceable. And even if you think someone is replaceable, you'll never have that relationship because it's unique to you too.
For sure.
You definitely got deep with this because you talked about what your mother went through that she may or may not have known that you saw.
This was the first time that, on this, I remember writing the verse and sending a voice note that I recorded in my phone to my mother and said, I asked her, is this okay?
Yeah.
Can I talk about this in this project? And, she said she loved it. And of course, like, she gave me the blessing to talk about it. But just recalling moments that do play over in my mind sometimes of, like, my mother being abused as I was a child growing up. And just, like, not just because of that, but, like, being one of the things that made me reflect and realize the strength of my mother and all that she's endured. Like, I'm hard on my mom sometimes. I mean, we tend to be hard on people we love. And with my mom, like, I always feel like this protective figure. And it could be in part because of the things I've seen her go through. But just me at a certain point stepping back and saying, yo, wow, like, my mom held it down. She's dealt with so much, and she's beautiful, like, she's strong, and just wanting to acknowledge that and give her those flowers and just, take a step back from always kind of nitpicking. And sometimes, again, we're not the greatest people to the people we love. And I wanted to be more conscious and work on that and address that. And that was kind of step one of making that change.
Yeah. So we're talking about his mom. Once again, she was domestically abused. And there's a statistic that every 9 seconds a woman is hit. And when it comes to trauma, we always don't talk about it because we're ashamed, especially with domestic violence. Sometimes women feel ashamed because they feel like they're weak because they don't leave. And some women feel trapped. And just trauma in general, it kind of makes you feel alone when you're going through traumatic things. And it's like, that's when we should be reaching out or asking for the most help is when we're being traumatized, because we need to be able to heal and actually have it come out of our mouth that I'm going through this, I need help.
Yeah.
So
nah, for sure. And we
hide it.
I'll be 33 March 10th, and this is the first time that I'm acknowledging or addressing something like that, right? Like, to my mother, that I understand and I see you, I've seen you. And it's just important for us to even create that space to where who knows if my mother healed from that? Who knows how she dealt with it? If she had to just kind of just get up and keep moving in survival mode. But it's just one of those moments where I wanted to, like, address, like, some of the pain that I knew someone else endured that I care about. Yeah. And sure.
And a lot of people have gone through that. And that's what I love about this project in general is, like, once we address our traumas, we can heal from it. You can't, and I forgot who said this, but they said you can't heal from what you don't reveal.
Yeah.
And that is so true. We always try to bury things, sweep it under the rug. But if you don't even acknowledge, like you said, that you've gone through this, how can you ever truly get over it? And it's going to pop up in other areas of your life when you don't heal from trauma. That trigger is going to happen, and then boom, it brings you right back to what you got traumatized by.
For sure.
So speaking of trauma, a lot of the times Black men I feel like they're not allowed to talk about the traumas they've been through, even at the hands of their mom or other people in the home. I feel like Black men have to suck it up, and that's a part of life. And when you get older, you can be the protector, but for now, you have to, just keep it inside. And I feel like that's one of the reasons Black men are kind of totally closed off, because it takes so much to really have a man say things to you that really happened to him and for him to trust you.
For sure.
And I think that reflects in relationships as well, because Black men felt like they never had a safe place.
Yeah.
Even their partner isn't a safe place to them.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, as Black men, being told, like you said, to suck it up, or you got to be strong, or this is what makes a man. And, you know, one of the biggest reasons for me creating this project is just a line of conversations that I've had with peers of mine, and realizing where they are mentally, and how they feel they're perceived, and how they feel they have to be, and how closed off they have to remain, you know, as they navigate life. And so I wanted to create this project where I could be an example and kind of, you know, so to speak, jump in the fire as somebody who is speaking out and trying to make that the norm, or create that to be what's cool and what's, you know, how we should just go about, you know,
how we operate,
addressing traumas and just, you know, again, navigating life and whatnot. So in this project, being as open as I was just kind of looking to be an example, and not just, I hate this idea of like starting conversations. No, I want to like create the actions that will create the framework, or just be that example for, again, how it is that we feel that we're able to go about dealing with traumas and addressing things that, you know, are heavy on our hearts, or the weights we carry on our shoulders and shit.
Yeah. So let's get on to the second song, which is called Simple Things. This is really a bop. I really like it. It's upbeat, and the sample is from the Jamie Foxx show.
Snapple fact.
Yep.
Did not know this at all.
I knew that. He didn't even know this. I knew this.
You put me on.
I was literally listening to it so hard. I was like, I know where this is from. But yeah, it's a really dope sample. Frank touches on a plethora of things. One of the things he talked about is not asking for help. He personally asks for help, but there's a lot of us that are too prideful or too ashamed to ask for help.
And I've been there.
Okay.
This is just something that, like, as time, like, I've got to a point, and I would hate to just say it's with age, because I would like to think that people could come to these moments before the age 32.
Yeah.
And that's what we're hoping to, you know, inspire with this project, and even in conversations like we're having right now. But I understand it. I've been there, like, not asking for help. Like, but these days, like, it's something I ask for whenever I need it, and early. And it helps me do a lot of things. Like, even just having people around you that you can ask for assistance from, you start to learn who is there for you, who you can rely on.
Yep.
Sometimes, like, we only figure out that we can't rely on people when it's like there's such a dire need, right? And now we're in like
a disaster,
a complete disaster, and I'm realizing I have nobody because I've never tested these people when I was riding dying for them, right?
Exactly.
So, you know, just being able to ask for help. You could be one piece of assistance or advice if you would just reach out away from saving yourself weeks, months, or years of hardship,
headaches.
Absolutely. So yeah, ask for help, man. Ask for help.
And if they try to throw it in your face later, that's on them, not on you.
That doesn't. If somebody would throw you needing assistance in your face, we have to stop this idea of needing to seem perfect to the point that we don't want people to throw it in our face that they helped us. Like, everybody needs help.
Yes, I don't care who you are.
If somebody would throw that in your face, like, that's on them. They look a certain way for that. It says more about them than it ever could about you.
Yes. And a lot of these people that a lot of people are trying to be like these celebrities, they have the most help.
Yeah, for sure.
They literally have help for everything. Yeah. Literally driving,
teams of 30. You know what I mean? And you won't ask, know what I mean, your mother or your father or your brother or best friend for a hand doing something like that. That's bogus to me. Like, what not saying that you got to have people in your life to fill certain voids or needs, but what is the point of having people around you if they cannot assist you in your time of needs? Is friendship and love just to turn up? Is it just to go out and have someone to drink
romance
with, to play some games with? Like, that can't be the limit in where I draw the line on what these people in my life can be utilized for sure.
They're either an asset or a liability.
Absolutely.
And there's no gray area whether you guys want to face that or not.
Period.
You also talked about broken relationships. Mm-hmm. Like, that's also a trauma, right? But it's also a trauma that a lot of people go through, and I feel like they handle it wrong. So a lot of times when someone doesn't get along with their sister or their mom, they just completely cut them off. But we have to learn how to love people at a distance or love them in a different way than we would that somebody we get along with.
you know, I talk about a lot like the separation like between me and my father and me and my brother, people that I entirely love. But like even in that distance, like we could just not be in a space, you know, them or me or whatever, where we can coexist or where we can have a healthy relationship. So,
exactly.
you know, there's always hopes for down the line, you know, things coming together and being able to reach out and finally coming to realizations. But you also can't force your process on other people.
No.
So just because I'm in this space where I'm healing,
I'm ready
and I'm okay with certain things, I got to know sometimes it just doesn't line up in the timing that you want things to happen as it pertains to other people. The most uncontrollable variable in life is people.
Yes, yeah.
And, you know, so again, the people I love, and in the project, I could hope like as far as this travels, whoever it reaches, that people could hear love in what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Even though I'm addressing some things that are real to me, that's not a perfect story here, but nothing I'm saying is not in love. I'm putting a story out there that I hope that other people can hear and be inspired to know that they're not in these things alone. These situations aren't foreign territory to people around them. So, this is what it is. I love my people, and you know, sometimes this family is just unfortunate. Yeah,
and I love that he said that. Not trying to force somebody to be in your position, because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know how they're raised. Because it's crazy. People can be raised by the same parents in the same home and have two different experiences as siblings.
Absolutely.
So it's like we have to stop thinking, oh, I'm ready, or we grew up the same, or you should be more mature. Like, no, that sometimes isn't the case. And we have to let people grow on their time and just hope it will happen. Absolutely. And that's fine. So the last thing in this song that I want to talk about is having no plan B, kind of, and like just going for it. Yeah. I feel like with anything you want to do in life, you should just go for it. It could be going on a fitness journey. It could be going back to school. It can be getting into that relationship that you're afraid of because you healed and you're not trying to get damaged again. For sure. But it's just like in whatever you want to do career-wise, especially like artistic, where you might not have a plan or a mentor that can show you the way, and you have to figure it out. Like, we have to stop being afraid of the unknown because you'll never know what it could have been. For sure. I mean, just having a plan, like we have these plan B's or C's for when things don't work out, but literally anything could work out as long as you work the plan. Yes. I mean, you if you're dedicated and disciplined to it, and you align yourself and you stay focused, and you know, there's nothing that's not possible. And I mean, through you, God, and just your will. You know what I mean? So whatever it is. Yeah, and be open to your plan kind of evolving. For sure. To not being the exact original plan. Because that can discourage you. Like, dang, I thought it was going to go this way. Mm-hmm. Don't worry about that. And don't worry about timelines. Because that can be a big discouragement. We're like, I want to have this done by this time. Life doesn't always work like that. For sure. So the third song I think is very important. It's called Mind, Body, and Soul, featuring The Saga. This is all about taking care of you. Facto. And I love this one because he's talking about truly taking care of yourself. A lot of us act like we take care of ourselves, but we might get our nails done. We might get our, a shape up like guys do. But mentally, are you taking care of yourself? Are you setting boundaries with people? Mm-hmm. Are you eating well as much as you can afford to? There's a lot of things we neglect when it comes to self-care. Yeah, for sure. I mean, boundaries with people is surely the main thing. We like to think that being good people means that we have to just kind of put up with every and anything. And, that takes a toll on us. Like certain bonds and relationships we're holding on to, certain routines that we're just keeping ourselves in. So, just mind, body, and soul, we have to prioritize ourselves. You have to set the standard for how people are to love you by how you love yourself. Exactly. There's got to be rules and regulations. Absolutely. One of the things I love that you talked about is this is not being judgy. This is being observant, because I hate when people call you judgmental. For sure. It's like talking about mind, body, and soul. A big part of that is who you have around you. They can either deplete you or pour into you. And a lot of people also have friends that you can only do surface level things with because the relationships aren't even really that deep. They're like, go have fun, go smoke hookah, or do this and that, talk about men, or men like to, play video games and do whatever together. But it's like, are you guys really becoming better as friends? Do your friends encourage you to be better, or do they does it like do your friends keep you comfortable because you can't grow in comfort?
Yeah, I mean, and that might be where you genuinely are. If y'all are both there and that's the space that y'all are living in, and by all means, go for it. Whatever makes you happy, genuinely, just getting older, I started realizing like what I require of myself.
Yeah.
And, that also is what I like to look at how I see my friendships as well.
Exactly.
Like if I'm looking to advance in life and being motivated and reaching and achieving certain goals are things that are important to me, I need the people around me and the people that I'm connecting with to support that, to add to that. Exactly. Yeah. Like it's not like I require like money or people to do every and anything as it pertains to my like hopes, dreams, and goals, but like motivation, something as simple as motivation. If I'm pouring motivation into the situation and you're inspired by what it is that I'm doing, like I would like some of that back, right? Like I have like boundaries and I have requirements of the people that are in my life as it pertains to where I want to be.
Yeah.
And that's important to me. I mean, and it's okay to require things out of people.
Yeah.
Like love is not enough.
It's not enough to be around me, not physically. Yeah.
And that's just a part of it, mind, body, and soul. Like, are you taking care of yourself? Are you working out? Like you said, are you eating well? That's going to influence the way that you feel about yourself, the way that you see yourself.
Your mindset.
And all of these things are important to me,
Yeah.
as I would like to think that they're important to others as well, and raise the overall quality of your life.
Exactly. We're all on different journeys, but we have to have the same mindset when it comes to like standards and the roots of things, like your character, especially because a lot of people, what they have in common is gossiping.
Yeah.
What they have in common is getting drunk at the bar.
Yeah.
And gossiping isn't good ever, but like you can do what you want to do with your life and your activities, but we have to be growing. And also, if it's okay to let people go if you don't click anymore. Sometimes we're elevating and we're holding on to a dead situation, and it's like every time you're with that person, you're like, this is not the same because my mind is here now and they're still at that level
sometimes you're clashing with people that you're just not still designed to be connected to.
No, you're not.
And it's not fair to you or them. I mean, because you might just because you're somewhere that someone else isn't yet doesn't mean that they're necessarily in the wrong, because you haven't always been where you arrived to at
you
this
just
point.
got there. Calm down.
You got to respect their process as well, but it just might mean that, again, they're not for you right now, or y'all have grown apart.
Exactly.
And that's fine. Doesn't mean it's beef.
Yes.
Doesn't mean we have to talk bad about each other and still love. It is what it is. It's just that
we grew apart.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're on different paths, and it's crazy because you'll try to drag somebody with you and then end up taking you back down to where you elevated from, and we can't go backwards.
For sure.
Another thing you talked about with mind, body, and soul, and this is big with your mind, is not getting caught up in social media. A lot of people are really living a fantasy world or have a facade on there, a whole nother persona. And it's like, we have to realize what we're seeing is usually somebody literally produced it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a production. Yeah. The lighting, the quotes.
I had a conversation, which was a huge part of even some of the content on this project, being what it was. But I had a conversation with somebody that, was dealing with like waltzing themselves into depression because they were comparing themselves to things that they seen on social media. Yeah. Even people that, their peers, like there was just these images of where they felt they should be and what they weren't doing, and the successes everybody else were experiencing. I'm like, yo, dog, that's not real. And they even looked at me like, yeah, even yourself, like you're doing all of these things. And I'm like, hold on, let me peel some layers back for you so you can understand where I'm really at. Yeah. And so I peeled some layers back for him. He's like, yo, I didn't know it was like that. And I'm like, dog, the process is the process.
You have no idea.
Don't judge yourself based on what somebody gave you that was perfect, because when I look at your life from what you post, it looks just as perfect as some of the things that you're referencing to me. Yeah. And you're telling me it's not what it seems like, and I'm telling you it's not what it seems like. And like he found comfort in that. Yeah. And so this project, I wanted to do a lot of that. I wanted people to be able to peel some layers back from my life and not just the highlight moments to say, hey, this is where I really am. So maybe somebody can find comfort in knowing that everything's not always peachy, even when it seemed like it, which it may have seemed like it before this project comes out, that everything was lit. Like I talk about, at age 28, moving back into my mother's crib, and somebody might have seen stories and things that I was posting about my life then when I had launched Really Media. And it's like, oh my God, I had this position at the school, like I was making a lot of money. And they're like, oh my God, things look perfect. But you'll hear this record and be like, okay, things weren't exactly ideal like it may have seemed. And I hope they take away from that it's not always perfect.
So number 4 is one of my favorites. Love. It's called Worth It, and it's it's featuring Just Cuz.
My guy. Family.
Yep. He killed that with the singing.
Yeah.
What I love about this song is it's talking about you being worth it. A lot of us have false confidence, or we fake like we have worth, but it shows in our life and the attention we're seeking online and offline that a lot of us need outside validation. Yeah. And it's like, you need to know you're worth it because of you. You need to have that inner confidence where, it's nice when people clap for me. It's nice when people believe in me, but I need to believe in me because of who I am, and I'm going to go for what I want.
Yeah, I mean, in your Worth It, I wanted to paint that picture, which is very real for all of us, but for me, where everything that could go wrong did and will. And in those moments, just being able to know that situations don't have to be ideal for you to understand that you're great, that you're capable.
Yes. And the struggle doesn't reflect on you either.
It doesn't define you. It doesn't define you at all. So, I talk about, being 28 and moving back into my mother's crib where how cool is that? And, what are all the things people can say about somebody that would go through that? And just the hardships of my life at different points, but still knowing that God got me, still knowing that I'm capable, and not letting the worst parts of my situation have me so down to myself that I couldn't focus and just get back to the mission and
keep pushing
and just be happy. Just be happy. I always said it's not only the worst pain that hurts. So I wasn't comparing myself to people people got it worse or whatever, but just looking at my situation, knowing that this isn't that bad. It's never really that bad. You have
the essentials.
Just comparing the comparisons, comparing yourself to people like, oh, I'm supposed to be further ahead or this, that, and the third. Just knowing that I'm still capable. There's those ups and downs we talked about, taking L's even in moments where things were ideal. It was all good just a week ago. You know what I mean? But, continuing along the path and just trusting the process and just being okay with where I am in the journey and knowing that I'm also blessed with people that could assist me in moments that got tough and whatnot.
Exactly.
That was a blessing. I mean, so I wasn't letting myself
your circumstance change your perspective on yourself.
For sure.
You can't let it do that.
For sure.
All right, the 5th track is called Amen and Amen. Mm-hmm. So in Amen and Amen, you're basically coming to terms and almost really coming to peace with things. Yeah. So, there's times where we have friction with our loved ones, and there's things that we wish were different, and it almost makes us look at ourselves like, am I lovable? That's what you said in the record. And it's like, I am. We just don't get along. And what is love in the first place? Because it's not always going to be a pretty picture.
Yeah, so Amen and Amen was actually the first record that I recorded on this project, where I was just in this space where I was identifying some of the differences with me and people that I care about in life, and just kind of where I was prior even to this, this project being a thing. And one of the huge elements was my disconnect with my father and my little brother. And so I, opened up the record talking about reaching out to my father again and sitting my brother down and, trying to see what the issue is and letting them know that I still love them.
Yeah.
But as you said, love doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be seeing eye to eye. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, love might not mean that you and someone else can even coexist in the same space. And just coming to terms with that, knowing that I love these people and that, maybe one day it will come to a point where we could have some kind of conversations and really get back on the same page and like resume our love from wherever it is that we went wrong.
From
but
a more ideal standpoint.
Yeah, just wishing people the best and coming to terms and being okay with things as they are. As the process.
You gotta let it go.
As I keep repeating, as the process is the process, and everybody's process is different. But, I wanted to put it out there, like, in the airwaves that, like, again, like, it's all love on my side. And I was just kind of identifying some things and just being open and vulnerable and just kind of just openly venting and, just, coming to terms with it.
Definitely, because family situations can be some of the stickiest, to be real. Because you love them so much, there's passion there. Yeah. So that can also fuel the headbutting because of how you feel for each other.
For sure.
So
for sure.
And it's just it's almost good though sometimes when you have conflict with people because you care. Yeah. You don't argue with people you don't care about.
Absolutely.
Or other people try to lie like, I don't care, I'm unbothered. No, if you're arguing about something or you're being petty, you care.
A huge part of that though is like we've never been taught conflict resolution.
Yeah.
So butting heads with people, it means like, hey, if you're not doing what somebody likes or there's some difference, you're not seeing eye to eye.
It's
like,
a problem.
F them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, we don't got to talk then.
Yeah.
And just that pride in the situation. It's easier for people to have the most grand conflict with somebody, to the point where it's easier for them to fight somebody than it is to say, yo, dog, like,
that hurt my feelings.
Could we talk about this?
Yeah.
Or, like, I didn't like this. That's difficult because we're so used to, like, things going wrong.
Escalating it to the extreme.
And having some kind of defense mechanism or some kind of wall up because that's what protected our feelings because we never were taught how to address things. And so,
and we have to grow, you guys. Like, it's honestly beautiful when you can get past a disagreement with someone. Like, words are powerful.
Yeah.
So I really feel like we do need to learn how to use them. And also we have to take ourselves out of our own shoes from time to time to understand where that person's coming from. Because it's honestly selfish when you're always just thinking it from your point of view.
For sure.
It's like, how do they feel though? You feel a way, but you probably did something to them to make them feel a way as well.
I think that comes with maturity too. Because we always feel like we have the right answer or our perspective is valid because, through your lens, you see what you see. It is what it is. Your lived experience is valid. And some people haven't really even been taught to like look at things from other people's shoes.
They haven't, yeah.
This is why conversations like this and giving that kind of perspective for people to maybe give a second look at something or to process something a little differently than they may have in the past and whatnot.
Because once you curse somebody out, cut them off or put hands on them.
Yeah, there's some things you can't come back from or that are more challenging to come back from.
And then sometimes when it's to that point and that you and that person just are done, you think about like, dang, I was wrong in that situation. Yeah. But now it's too late.
For sure.
It's too late. Another thing you talk about is discipline. That is very hard for everybody. I don't care what anyone says. It can be a routine once you get into like the swing of it. Mm-hmm. But saying no to things you want and saying yes to things you don't want to do is very hard.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, with anything, like the discipline in what you do and don't eat has a great impact on yourself. The discipline in whether or not you're going to like go to these gym sessions, throughout your days has a great impact. The discipline.
Stop scrolling on TikTok.
And how you're spending your time. Are you writing a plan for your business? Are you following that plan? Are you investing your money where it needs to go for your money to grow? Like, these things are challenging.
Discipline with money? Yeah, oh my goodness.
For sure.
Saying no to Starbucks?
Absolutely.
When you're having a rough day at work?
Yeah, turning down, not even just in moments, turning down weeks and months of good times because you have to focus on something. You have to save up.
Yes.
That discipline is tough, especially when it's an elongated period of time. Major keys, man, as my man Khaled would say, like, that would change your life. Discipline is the difference between good and great, have and have not.
Yes.
Like your starting point and your end point, if you
being
ever will get there, for sure.
Long term versus being fulfilled temporarily.
For sure.
Because we can do those things in the moment to have fun or I just want to do it, but you might regret it later. Versus you have to suffer, you have to sacrifice, but then you got what you
Even
wanted.
in moments when you don't see any reward
Yeah.
for a long time,
Yes.
just knowing you're staying the course, that's tough.
Yep.
When you don't get reassured
Yes.
by success or results,
Yes.
but you have to, having a 5-year plan and knowing that you're not even going to see any of the real return.
Any fruition.
Really immediate. When I started the company, like I
Yeah.
had this company now for like 6 years. I'm going years of still pouring in money and investing
Yes.
before I'd seen any in return. Like
Yeah.
I'm talking 3-4 years down the line,
Yes.
still investing, still losing money,
Exactly.
still not getting clients but staying the course and knowing
Yes.
that as long as I follow the plan, one day this is going to pay off.
It will.
And sometimes you don't even see the end of the staircase or the light at the end of the tunnel, but you're still staying
forward.
the course and
Yep.
trusting the process. So.
Yep. So the last track is called You've Been Good.
Mm-hmm.
And here you talk a lot about different things. You
Yeah.
touch on pushing past doubt.
For sure.
You talk about being more available for people, which is huge. We need each other.
For sure.
And you also talking about having to love more.
Yeah. This record, especially like when you get like into like verse 2, I talk about a moment where I overheard my mother dealing with something, right? And something she's never revealed to me, something I just happened to like stumble upon. And I realized in that moment, like the kind of love that I wasn't showing, the kind of like gentleness that I wasn't affording people that probably needed it the most.
Yep.
Just being an autopilot and treating people how we treat them, thinking that like just being so self-centered, essentially, right? So in that moment, though my mother was the target of the bar that, you know, I talked about in the subject of the verse, just knowing that people are dealing with things that we'll never know about, things that they'll never tell us. So just like the power and the value of kindness and always treating people essentially like they might be dealing with the worst because
You never
they
know.
might just be.
Yeah, especially with the people we care about the most.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
we've talked about this earlier. Sometimes we treat the people we love the most and love us the most the worst.
For sure.
And then we'll treat a stranger or a friend like they're amazing when they'll dip out on us. You never know.
Absolutely.
Your family, the people that really love you and are solid, they deserve the world. And we have to stop being irritated by them or feeling like they know I love them. Like, show it though.
Nah, let them know. Let them know. Now, I mean, you never know when it could be too late. You never know how far your words could go, how far that gesture could go, and just like we need things at times, and we need reassurance, and we want people to extend kindness to us. Like those people, even the ones that seem like they have it all figured out and are the strongest people, like those are the people that need the love the most.
Exactly.
And, you know, so again, in that moment, like I look at my mother like a superhero.
Yeah.
So just like stumbling across like, you know, certain information, it was just a wow moment. And I never take for granted, or I vowed to not take for granted these people in my life.
Yeah, we
and
can't.
just, you know, stepping and putting myself aside and realizing people are dealing with things. And even if they're not, I just wanted to double down on the
Just
love
to
that I was
do
showing
it.
people,
Yeah,
for sure.
that's how we should operate.
Absolutely.
And in verse 3, I love that you talk about this, that we need to stop judging.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. Sometimes it's hard, though. Sometimes you're like, this person just keeps wilding and they keep doing this and that. But it's like, you don't know why.
Yeah.
People are dealing with things.
This verse, it being the last verse, I really wanted it to sum up. And if anybody took anything away from this album, I wanted this to sum it up and this to be what it was that they took away from the album.
Yeah.
And the goal is to create this space where people could just be.
Yeah.
Where people could be and be happily. People could be and be judgment free.
Yes.
And we could deal with people and be more gentle. Just
Give them
not
grace.
knowing what people are going through.
Yeah.
Not knowing what people need. But there's a line in there where I said, you could be a light for someone, or you could be someone's obstacle.
Yeah.
And like that's a fact. Like what are you going to be? What are you deciding to be?
You can make somebody's day or ruin it.
Absolutely. You can make
Literally.
someone's life or ruin it.
Yeah.
There's people that you're interacting with in moments where they might be right at their breaking point. And we're not going to get prompted. We're not going to get like some kind of alert that lets us know that. But in that moment, you could be the thing that pushes somebody over the edge.
Yeah.
So, you know, just keeping that in mind and moving through life, knowing that we have opportunities to make great impacts, good or bad. You're always making an impact, regardless of
Whether you
what
know
that
it.
impact is. Now, I mean, I don't know if that impact is honorable. Now, I mean, the change that you're creating in the world, but you're definitely doing something in every moment that you live in. and what you're imparting into the world and into people is creating some kind of a difference.
Exactly.
Good or bad.
Good or bad. Cause and effect.
For sure. So yeah, if anybody took anything away from this album, that last verse summed up what I hope they walked away with.
Yeah.
There's some specific examples throughout the album that pertain to my life and things that I've learned through my experiences and encounters, and that just got me to that point right there. So
yeah, we gotta have more grace for each other. Everybody wants to not be judged, but you want to judge everybody else.
For sure.
And everybody wants to point out the one wrong thing somebody else did,
sure.
but they don't want to be held accountable for what they've
sure.
done. So it's like, we're all human, we're all imperfect. And like you said, everything you do does make an impact, good or bad. And
Absolutely.
I feel like we have to be more intentional in general with everything we do.
And that's all I want people to get out of this project.
So I hope this episode was insightful for you guys, and make sure you check out Beautiful Trauma by Frank Colmenares, right?
Oof, that's the first time somebody's got my name right like that.
I'm going to put it on the screen because it's long.
For sure.
But I always in my podcast with my last segment, which is called A Song to Expand Your Attention Span. And that song is longer than 3 minutes because songs nowadays are usually 3 minutes or less. And that song is Beautiful Trauma on the project Beautiful Trauma.
Absolutely.
So for real, check it out. It's really good, you guys. So thank you for listening to my podcast and enjoy the rest of your week.